Hello, friends. What's going on, everybody? I'm King Basics, and welcome to the Royal Army. Alright, so last time on Buried, we left off with me making the mistake of trusting Marcus with the gun. So I handed Marcus over the gun, and as him and Amy leave, we hear struggles, yada yada yada. We get in there, I struggle for the gun, me and Marcus are fighting, and now I have the ultimate decision, because he's lunging toward me, leaping from the floor like a human projectile. I don't have time to aim carefully. I have to react fast. Now, do I shoot him, or I try to dodge? Now, there's a bunch of chemicals in this place, so if I don't have time to aim carefully, I might not get a clean shot on him, and I might shoot something that doesn't need to be shot, that shouldn't be shot. So, as of right now, I feel like deep down I should try to dodge him. And who knows, maybe I'll need him later. So I don't want to kill the man. I want to spill his life. I want to spare his life. His aim is poor and his strength is failing, so I dodge him easily. I don't want to have a gunshot go off and alert those creatures to where we are. Make a hard jab of the butt of the rifle, striking him in his chest. Something crunches and he lets out a whoosh of air. He crumbles for a moment and then goes to his knees. He roars in pain on the floor. Only, after a few moments, I realize that they are not purely screams of pain. The bastard is calling for them, calling for those creatures to come for us. This place is evil, along with everyone involved, he wails from the floor. If you are taking her side, then you deserve to die too. If you want to stop me, you'd better do it now, you coward. The rage in his eyes at Amy, as well as towards me for stopping him, makes me think that he'll deliver on his threat. I raise the rifle again, every urge in my body wanting to make sure he doesn't come back to bite us. But I am not a violent man. I could easily not kill him and just leave him behind. Oh man. See, I'm not a violent man either. I can't say I'd kill him. I'd let Marcus live. That might have been a mistake, but we'll see. Just like when I could barely shoot earlier as he was coming at me, I can't bring myself to deliver a kill shot. I ignore him and lean down to Amy. You okay? I ask. She nods slowly. I have to go, she says, her voice raspy. They'll be here any minute. Too much noise. I have to hold her arm so she can get to her feet. We start forward and then I think of Dennis. We should go back to the hangar doors. I say, I can't just leave Dennis there. There's no time, Amy says. You need to come with me in the command center now. We'll be back for him soon. You're all dead now anyway, Marcus shrieks. If they don't get you, I will. He laughs maniacally after saying this, hooting like a madman. As if in response, a high-pitched noise tears through the hallway. I seem to feel it in my bones. They're following his noise now, Amy says, her voice still weak. She takes off away from Marcus, presumably towards the elevator she had mentioned moments ago. I follow her. As we move out, I hear Marcus slowly push himself off the ground and stumble off, slipping in between the tanks and disappearing. We start running, and after the first few strides, another noise sounds. It sounds mechanical, but at the same time, it also reminds me of recordings I've heard of whale songs. I dare a look behind us and see something has entered the doorway. I came through. It is large and bright, but it is too far away to see clearly, and I have no interest in seeing it. Whether pulling that hydraulic door would have helped, I'm not sure, but seeing how close they are, I regret not doing it. I speed up my step to follow Amy as she leads the way to the other elevator. She's panting furiously but pushes on. I can hear something rattling in her breath, likely the result of Marcus's attack. This makes me imagine how his cold, uncaring eyes must have looked, staring down at her as he tried to deliver her to her death. How she is still forging on is beyond me. I'm sorry about Marcus, I say. It's not your fault, she interrupts. When you handed him the gun, you didn't know he would use it on me. I just hope we can find a way to survive this mess. I probably shouldn't say anything in this situation. I can't say we'll be fine. I can't say that. We both keep our eyes fixed straight ahead. Better to stay focused. We finally come to the elevator at the end of the row of silos. Now I'm more concerned with the monstrosity that is in our heels. Amy furiously slaps at the button to open the doors. They slide open slowly. It feels like it's taking forever. We squeeze in before the doors are opened all the way, Amy actually falling to her knees and screaming. I ready the rifle and watch helplessly as the doors finally reach their fully opening capacity. As they hold open, I see a large shape floating towards us. A phosphorescent-like white glow outlines an impossible shape. Behind it, I see another shape that's also entered the biochem room, and another. The third one breaks away from the other two, taking a quick right. It moves with eerie speed. That is the direction Marcus had gone. Honestly, the thought of him hunting him down doesn't bother me in the slightest. Amy is pressing the button to close the elevator doors over and over, but they stay open for what seems like an eternity. I curse whoever designed those damn doors. Should I hide inside it or stand in the doorway? They know something's going on in the elevator, so I don't think hiding inside would be the best option. If they're seeing it close, they're probably going to try to stop it. I'm going to stand there ready to shoot, armed and ready. We can't go anywhere, I figure, so no use in hiding. I take a step and stand firm in the elevator door. I hold the rifle steady, ready to fire, and that's when I see them in a clear light for the first time. I can see their features, their shape, and their colors, but my mind can't quite process it all. Nothing about them makes any sense. My eyes try to see a squid, but that's not what these things are. They are gray and white and seem to be nothing more than squirming light. Their appendages are neither legs nor tentacles, excuse me, but somewhere in between. They don't walk on these appendages, but they use them to glide. They move like ghosts and seem to jerk every few feet or so. But I'm pretty sure that this jerking effect is not a result of their own moving, but my mind's inability to understand how they are moving exactly. It's also more than their appearance that makes a mockery of reality. The light around them seems to bend inward, as if the space within the room has reshaped itself for their existence. The peculiar effect on the air makes their movement seem like something moving underwater, only faster. They screech in unison as they rush towards the elevator. They'll be inside here in another few seconds. I check the rifle and see that my ammo is diminishing. I have to start saving shots. I'm going to have to be choosy. And don't shoot yet. Who knows, they might be impenetrable anyways. Save some ammo. Save some ammo. They keep advancing. Even though I know the doors may not close in time, I manage to keep my cool and avoid firing off any more rounds. My finger itches to pull the trigger, but I resist. I'm not even sure if a gun would affect them. Finally, the elevator door closes. The creatures wash against the other side of the door, making an electrical noise and crying out in anger. The tips of their spider-like appendages poke through the wall and elevator door, but for some reason they can't get all the way through. Amy screams at this and curls into a ball in the far corner of the elevator, crying. I say nothing to her. I just cling to the rifle, hoping these creatures don't find Dennison as he waits in the hangar doors where I left him. For his sake and ours, we need to get them open. Now. The end of chapter 3. Shall we move on? Chapter 4. The blunt truth. You and 59% of players told Dennis he'd probably be fine. Slow them down. You and 65% of players sided with Marcus and didn't pull the hydraulic door. Who to trust? You and 31% of players gave the gun to Marcus. That was a mistake. You and 58% of players left Marcus alive. You and 68% of players conserved your bullets for later instead of shooting the creatures. Alright. So it looks like we sided on the higher half except for the whole trusting Marcus thing. That was the biggest mistake. I'll agree with that. Alright, let's begin chapter 4, shall we? The ride up the elevator is tense. I take a series of deep breaths, doing everything I can to stay in control. Amy has gotten back to her feet, but her head is pressed against the elevator wall as she suppresses a series of sobs. I find myself trying to remember the way those creatures look, but my mind seems to shudder at the effort. I've seen something like is impossibility. I have seen something that is an impossibility, a mockery of what I know is real. This fills me with a terror that dwarfs anything else I have felt since discovering the facility. I try to focus my mind on something else and remember Marcus's threats. I wonder if we'll see Marcus again, I say, mostly to myself. Do you think Marcus got away from those things? Amy asks. I sort of hope not. Me too, she says, looking at the ground, her arms folded. So, I say, how did you end up here? She gives a nervous chuckle and shrugs. I used to work with the Pentagon. It was some pretty upper echelon stuff that I still can't discuss. I assume this place is even more upper echelon, I said. This place isn't even on the scale, she answers. My other job was a cakewalk compared to this. Then why stay? Because the money is ridiculous. I have a 13-year-old daughter already talking about Harvard. You do the math. Harvard, huh? That's ambitious. Yeah, let's go with that. Oh, I know. She's a force of nature. Her dad ran off when she was 3, so for a long time it's been just her and me. Amy pauses before continuing softly. What if I never see? Her voice breaks off. The words too terrible to say. Her eyes fill with tears. The elevator comes to a stop, the slight ding of it interrupting the moment. Amy hastily wipes her eyes, and we waste no time getting back inside the command center. I ready the rifle, suddenly certain that there are more of those creatures waiting for us in the hallway of the second level. But the way is clear, allowing us to haul ass to the command center. Once again, I find myself staring at the screen that shows my ruined worksite. Okay, Amy says, typing commands rapidly. It can't be that hard. I keep peeking over my shoulder, my senses feeling as if the monsters are sneaking up on us, mere inches away. I then think of Dennis and wonder how he is faring back in level 3. Is he safe? I look back at the screens to see that Amy has finally found what she was looking for. A prompt on the screen says override of hangar doors, and all level 3 locks requires clearance code. Amy types in a number with a shaking finger and the screen goes black for a moment. The moment the words "override confirmed" come up on the screen, Amy jumps up from the chair and heads out of the room. "We have to be quick," she says. "We have exactly 20 minutes to open those hangar doors." "Then let's get moving. It's time to ask questions." I follow her out the command center and bound back down the hallway, toward the same elevator that brought us here. Amy punches the elevator button and the doors slide open. "We're taking the same elevator back to the biochem room?" I ask. "Those creatures are still down there. There are even more in the other direction, remember?" she says. "Hopefully they've left." Hopefully. Neither of us say anything else as we share a look of immense dread. We step back into the elevator and head back down the biochem room on level 3. Let's hope they're gone. Let's hope they're gone. Please, God, say they're gone. As the elevator doors open, we peer out, looking to see if the creatures are still in the area. But it's all clear. When Amy looks to me, her eyes are clear and strong. Marcus wasn't entirely wrong, Amy says as we start walking back towards the hangar doors. "About what?" I ask. "About how I am partially to blame for this." "Why would you be to blame?" "Some of the things we do here, it's scary. We should have known that one day something like this would happen. Everyone here with knowledge of what goes on in level 3 is to blame," she says. "It's a highly advanced research facility," I say, "doing amazing but risky stuff. So yeah, you're partially to blame just by working here. But I can't understand the dedication. So why don't you tell me a bit more about what does go on in level 3, I ask. "Are you familiar with the Large Hadron Collider over in Switzerland?" "I've heard the phrase, but that's about it," I say. "It's a powerful particle accelerator," she explains. "Right now they're using it to try and create what's called dark matter. It's theorized that this dark matter actually makes up the majority of the universe, but parts of the universe are very different from ours. My guess is the people in the LHC will probably create their first dark matter particle in about 2018 or 2019. Here in this facility, we were able to create one almost 10 years ago. It was the key to our research." Does this have something to do with those things, or what does this matter do? What does it do? "We use dark matter to assist with instantaneous transfer of a subject, but we have yet to perfect it or understand why it works." "So you're saying it lets you gain access to different dimensions?" I ask. "That's the theory," she says. "During the point-to-point transfer, the subjects are gone for about 3 to 6 seconds. There's no way to see or measure their presence, but they exist somewhere. From what we can tell, they exist in a kind of void." "Have you done this with people?" "That's a good question. We have sent human subjects through. Almost all of them have returned successfully." I make an involuntary grimace. "Almost?" "There was one man, Dr. Kahana, who didn't return. We don't know where." She trails off, taking a moment to collect herself. "Sorry I asked," I say, feeling my mind start to bend inward again. As we continue to walk between the silos, we walk past the area we left Marcus behind. But he's long gone. Maybe he found a way out. I realize that we are walking very close together between the silos, perhaps trying to create the illusion of safety. We reach the exit connecting the hangar doors, where Dennis hopefully still is. My guts clench and my heart hammers in my chest as we open the door and walk through. I lift the rifle, but at first it seems like there's nothing waiting for us. And that's when I see the glowing, hulking shape to my left, closing in fast. "Ooh, he's coming to get us. He's coming to get us." The creature is about 10 feet away and coming in quickly, so I do the first thing that comes to mind. I drop to the ground, making myself a smaller target, and raise the rifle. I'm not sure if I should just unload on the bastard or try to be choosy with my shots and weaken it, or at least slow it down. I feel like if I shoot to kill, I'm gonna miss. Yeah, shoot to weaken. My shot causes the entire milky white frame to jerk to the floor. It flounders, its ghost-like tentacles writhing and with rage as it cries out at me. It seems to turn and jerk away, parts of it appearing and disappearing every few feet. It moves down the hall and out of sight. I look quickly around for others, but there is only Amy. She looks at where the monster went with wide eyes. Her face is pale, and I wonder if, like me, she's able to feel her mind trying to retreat. Come on, I say. Let's find Dennis and get through these hangar doors. Amy glances at her watch and nods. We're already down to 6 minutes. We turn towards the hangar doors, and I'm a little disgusted with myself because of the bloody scene that so shocked me before now seems mild. Amy goes to work on the computer console on the side of the doors. She starts punching in keys before saying, "This is going to take some time." "I thought you already unlocked it," I ask. "I did," she says. "But this door, there's still security permissions I need to hack." Marcus would have known how to do this. She trails off, and I decide to let her work. Suddenly something slams into me. I feel my feet leave the door, and I'm literally thrown across the concrete. I look up in time to see that one of the creatures is apparently in no hurry to attack me, again, focusing on Amy instead. She's not armed. I need to come up with a plan to get this thing away from her so she can focus on getting the door open. It raises one of its flickering appendages, making me certain that part of me is made up of pure light and energy. I could easily take a shot with my rifle, but my mind again goes to how much remaining ammo I have. The only other thing I can think of to do is to get it to chase me and lead it away from this room. Somewhere. Do I shoot it? Let's distract the monster and run. "Hey," I yell. "Right here. Come get me. I'm the one that shot your buddy." It turns to me, and I again face with staring at something that has no business in this world, in this reality. Its body gives off a sort of glow around the central part, a bulbous core that is branched off into 2 humps, very much like a spider. Again, I sense that this visual information is not accurate, but it's the best my simple mind can make of the sense of the impossible creature. It starts lurching towards me and lets out a shriek of agony that makes my ears feel like they'll explode. Now that I'm sure it's coming after me, I take off running and head into another hallway we haven't been down. I find myself in an industrial-looking area, and I'm pleased to find that the monster has followed me through. But what if I get lost now? Shit. The room seems to be an assortment of old pipes and tanks. I assume some of them run further down into the other areas of the facility. With the creature on my tail, I dash into the maze of metal, hoping to lose it. It's definitely having a harder time squeezing through than I am, and that slows it down. Of course, the room's not a cage of any kind. The thing is still heading towards me, shredding through the pipes as it rages. I notice that sometimes it is breaking the steel girders, but other times it seems like it's somehow merging and changing them. Pipes that were separate are now connected together in a way that makes my head hurt. I finally get a good amount of distance between myself and the creature. I think it's lost my trail. I need to get back to those hangar doors. There's not much time before they close shut. But if I make a sound, that creature could be on my heels again. Let's hide and escape quietly. I take care to stay silent, twisting myself through some more pipes and making my way back towards the doors I entered through. The creature doesn't seem to pick up on this. I see its glowing back as I come around. It lets out a static scream that makes my insides feel like jelly. But I don't even look back. I slide quietly through the rusted obstacle course and tiptoe back to the hangar doors. I burst back into the large room and see Amy still working on the computer terminal by the hangar doors. "You okay?" I ask Amy. I can clearly see her battling for control of her faculties. Steel determination wins out and she gives a grim nod. "Any sign of where Dennis went?" I ask, hoping she hasn't noticed the body somewhere. "No," she replies. It's then that I realize that I have no idea how many rounds I have remaining in the rifle. This isn't a model I'm familiar with. Outside of deer hunting, I'm not much of an expert on firearms. Still, I'm able to locate the chamber easily and see that there are 4 rounds left. Not great, but it could be worse. "How are we on time?" I ask her. 2 minutes. "I'm going as fast as I can," she says. Amy does her best to focus on the keyboard, but there is still no sign of Dennis. Before I have time to look around, a screeching sound erupts from the other end of the room. I bring the rifle up in a shooter's stance and turn around. With the hangar doors right behind me, no sign of Dennis, and a closing window of time, I have to be confident. Yet, 2 monsters come around the corner. My body wants to shut down. The appendages seem to jump in time and space, reaching out for a split second, independent of the body, and then disappearing back to where they came from. It turns and screeches at me, its glowing tentacles shaking, snaking out of its body. My knees tremble uncontrollably. Behind me, Amy shrieks. I feel myself losing control, my mind sliding into an abyss of sanity. I pull myself back from the brink. I've got to stay in control. Shoot them or turn away. I have 4 rounds. Oh, the decisions. Turn away. I could stand here and use my last 4 shots, but what good would that do? So instead, I turn to face the hangar doors. "How much longer before you can open these things?" "Not long," she says, furiously typing in the terminal as commands flood the screen. I doubt it, I think to myself. "Can I do anything to help?" I ask. She doesn't answer, in deep concentration. I turn back around and see a looming shape appear. The creature comes around the corner, screaming out like that static-like sound. I step away from Amy and the hangar doors and towards the monster, ready to defend her. I ready my rifle, but the creatures waste no time. It makes that jerky motion towards me, and there's a sharp pain in my chest as it collides with me. Or through me. It's hard to tell. My instinct is to try to grapple or hold this thing down, but then I realize I don't even know if that'll work. Try to get away. I figured I'd rather not try to learn more about the physical nature of this thing right now. I tuck and roll away from it, then stand up to face it. With a scream of defiance, I raise the rifle and put a round in its core. The shot lands dead center, and the light inside of it flickering almost violently. It falls back against the wall, issuing a hiss of its telltale static noise. It then jerks away and retreats, at least for now. Another terror appears as if out of nowhere, screaming at me with a high-pitched whine. It bounds forward, charging in its strange, spastic way. I aim the rifle, intending to take this one to the core. I take several shots, but it's still coming at me. As it slams into me, I realize that I only have 1 bullet left. On contact, the wind is knocked out of my lungs, and the back of the head strikes the floor. But neither of these things is alarming as the fact that the beast is on top of me. Its exterior is like a seashell that has been pounded by the surf for so long that it has lost all edges and ridges. but the grip it tries to capture me with is pure violence. I feel those light-soaked appendages start to wrap around me. I raise the rifle, knowing I still have one shot left. The weight of the monster is erratic. One moment I feel weightless, another I feel like I'm going to be crushed. I push upwards with the rifle to aim, but it's overpowering me. I'm not sure I'd be able to get an effective shot off. I see the core of its body, a spider-like shape, connected to the rest of it by thin white strings of tissue. I know I'll be dead within seconds unless I can manage a shot, but I don't know where to aim. This thing has already survived for so long. Shoot for the center. The creature is seconds away from tearing into my shoulder. I have to stop it now. I grunt as I try to angle the rifle in the direction of the beast's formless core. The appendages begin tugging down on the barrel, and it's at that moment I pull the trigger, unleashing my final shot. Thank God I saved this bullet earlier. The shot aggravates it enough to win me some breathing room. I've saved my shoulder, but this thing's still alive and kicking. But then I see the creature extend its tentacles in a violently whip-like motion away from me while it makes that static, screeching sound. The creature disappears into thin air and reappears a few feet from me, retreating. With a shoulder and a cry of desperation, I get to my feet just in time to see the monster head in the direction of the biochem room. Amy looks over at me from her terminal at the hangar doors, looking petrified. I manage to help myself up when I see another figure nearing us. But to my relief, I realize it's a human figure. Dennis, with a gun. "You okay, boss?" he asks, but his eyes aren't on me. They're looking at the creature, trying to understand exactly what he has just seen. "About 15 minutes ago, I heard the door to that maintenance room unlock," Dennis says, pointing to the room I tried to bust my way into earlier. "Ah," Amy says, "when I did the override up in the command center, it unlocked small doors down here, including that maintenance room. I went inside there and hid," Dennis continues. "And while I was waiting for you to come back, I found a massive trunk. There were a few guns in it, so I grabbed this one," he says, patting his shotgun. "I'm glad you're safe." "Thanks, boss," he says. "Me too." She doesn't break eye contact with the panel. "Almost done," she replies. Suddenly, without warning, a shot ricochets off the wall behind Amy's head. Startled, we looked around, confused. Did Dennis's gun go off? When another shot blasts near us again, we all drop to the floor. I look around, wondering who or what could possibly be shooting at us. Those creatures don't do anything that sounds remotely like gunfire. And then I see him. Marcus. I should have killed him when I had the chance. He has a rifle and is walking towards us, an insane look in his eyes. "You all deserve to die," he screams, unleashing another round that I hear whiz by my head. Dennis doesn't hesitate. He stands up and shoots at Marcus, causing him to retreat. "How much longer, Amy?" "Almost there," she says quietly. She makes a few final key presses and says, "Done." The doors open with the noise of hydraulics and a whoosh of air. With Marcus pinned down by Dennis' gunfire, we start moving towards the doors. At that moment, another creature jerks into existence around the corner between us and Marcus. "Shit!" Marcus says and starts unloading into it, but then he learns the same lesson we did. This only slows down the creature. Marcus gives us one last look and then turns and runs off in another direction. Dennis, Amy, and I climb up and head through the doors, moving on nothing more than adrenaline. I see her look longingly at the maintenance room Dennis took the shotgun from. "You get into the hangar," Dennis says. "I'll get some more firepower." Satisfied with the plan, Amy heads through the door. We scramble finally inside the hangar. Dennis approaches from behind, holding several guns and looking like a kid who grabbed an armful of Halloween candy. Amy reaches out for a 9mm with one hand. Dennis turns to me and holds out a shotgun and a handgun for me to choose. Both look deadly. The shotgun looks more powerful, but the handgun will probably be more precise. I think I want the spread of a shotgun. I take the shotgun, surprised at how heavy it feels, but also invigorated by its weight. There are more creatures coming, as many as a dozen. They are floating down the hall quickly, their tentacles slithering. The way the light seems to mingle together is almost beautiful. Close the door, I yell at Amy. She dashes to another terminal mounted on the inside of the hangar doors and tries desperately to close them. It's not working, she says with tears in her eyes. This terminal is disabled. Dennis looks through the open doors, readying himself to shoot for the first monster that nears us. Should we try to slow a few down, or just run for it? He asks, his gun at ready. Let's run for it. Good idea, says Amy. With that, we turn around and sprint out into the hangar floor. Ooh. The room is enormous, so large to call it a room seems silly. A large concrete floor stretches out below an expansive, lofted ceiling. The area is mostly empty, except for one side which has rows and rows of metal barrels. Back in the far wall is a lit area that seems to expose more rooms, labs, and machinery. Also in the rear of the hangar, I can see some kind of chamber or control center. Dennis and I follow Amy across the hangar floor. Behind us, a series of rough, slithering sounds tells us that the creatures have made their way into the hangar. From somewhere up ahead, a loud buzzing noise sounds out. It reminds me of the slight buzzing noise I'd heard in the forest, the noise that got me into all this trouble in the first place. I look ahead and see that in the far back of the hangar, a bright red light is flashing. There's a small hatch or door below the light. The hatch is open, and I can see a shape inside it. I can barely make out the figure of a man standing there holding a microphone. And as soon as I see him, I hear his huge, amplified voice. It blares down over the intercom system and he sounds pissed. I don't know who the hell you are, he says, but this is a government facility on lockdown, and there are protocols, too. Shit. I assume the cursed coincidence. With the exact moment he sees the creatures. They're making their way through the hangar doors. There are about 20 feet between us and the creatures. I act instinctively, squeezing off 2 shots at the shotgun. The first sprays low, hitting the floor and causing a shower of sparks, but the second shot causes one monster to jerk backwards. It's a good thing that a shotgun is quite forgiving. Amy and Dennis take the cue and start firing as well. The floor becomes littered with swirling white fluid from the wounded creatures' bodies, but they are not slowing down. The alarm keeps shrieking behind us, and when I turn to see if anything has changed back there, I trip over my feet. I hit the ground hard in an almost comic fashion and slide several feet across the floor. From the ground, I see that we have managed to turn back 4 of them, but I also see that my estimate of a dozen is off. There are at least 20 of them. Their sick, dim light, sinister and gloomy. Their appendages seem to bind together as they come forward. My only hope of survival is that the man on the far doorway has somehow shut the hangar door. His voice comes blaring over the intercom again, broken by the booming noise of the gunfire that we are laying down. Run here, towards the isolation chamber. I'm not sure how much time we have. I realize that I can sprint ahead of Amy and Dennis, or I can hang back and give them cover. Oh man. Keep shooting to cover the others. Go inside, where that guy is, I say. I'll make sure we don't have any of those things right in our tails. I'll hold him back for a little while. I know it sounds macho, but it also feels like the right thing to do. I have to at least try to give us some kind of chance for escape. So as Amy and Dennis run through the doors, I blast at the next thing that I see moving. All I get from my troubles is that static-like hiss and a high-pitched whistling noise. I'm able to beat them back a bit, forcing them to scatter. Each flickering of a light is a small victory. If nothing else, I'm buying Amy and Dennis time. When I'm certain there's nothing more I can do, I turn and run. I hustle, quickly catching up to Amy and Dennis, who stop and turn to provide me with cover fire. "There," Amy says, pointing the small door where the man is standing earlier. The swarm is less than 15 feet away now, so furious that they are pushing through one another to get to us. I fire, still not quite used to kick the shotgun. I am for the core of one, but the shot hits low. Still, it knocks the bastard back, giving me time to readjust. We're in the middle of a hangar floor now, with the isolation chamber ahead and the monsters behind. Beside me, Dennis also fires. The kicks of the shotgun jolt him, probably a result of his being weakened from the blood loss. His shot lands true, though, causing a jerking, stumbling of the flickering of its light. "We're almost in," Amy yells. As we get close to the door, we hope will save us. Tell Dennis and Amy to go in first. "Get inside," I tell Amy and Dennis, motioning for them to get moving with my gun. I open the door and Dennis pushes toward it. He resists, more eager to try taking down another beast before he makes it to the safety, but he eventually gives in. I wait a beat to make sure that Amy is inside too. I fire off a few rounds on the creatures that are still headed for us, hoping to slow them down. When Amy and Dennis clear the door, I nearly dash inside, but then something hot seeps into my back. "Roger!" Dennis yells. The pain in my back is so immense that I barely notice the fact that I'm being lifted from the floor. I look down to see that one of the creatures is using its floating arms to grab me by the waist, its tentacles wrapping around me. It lifts me into the air, as if presenting me as a trophy to its friends. I can't angle the shotgun to fire off a round, so I bring the stock of it down on the monster's translucent, smooth body. It's like striking out a fog. My attack has very little effect. As it continues to hoist me up, screeching its approval, Dennis comes back out of the room and fires off a shot. The bullet catches the monster in the underside of its core, sending it backwards and causing it to freeze for a moment. It releases me, and I hit the ground, dropping my gun and again firing, finding myself unable to breathe. I feel slightly dizzy, but that fades when I see Dennis is still standing outside of the door. He's firing into the beast like a madman and doesn't see the one to his left, coming in along the edge of the wall. Push him. I try to dash towards Dennis to push him out of the way, but there's not enough time. The creature jerks out of existence and then reappears right behind him. By the time Dennis turns and sees the creature coming, it's already drawn several of its appendages back to strike. Dennis tries to raise his gun, but it's knocked away by one of the tentacles. A second tentacle strikes at Dennis, is spun around and thrown off balance by the attack. Dennis catches himself before falling. A third tentacle wraps around Dennis' forearm, and I can see it squeeze, tightening instantly. The tip of the appendage passes clean through his hand, its blood-soaked tip poking out through his palm. Dennis's face grimaces with pain as he tries to wrench his arm free, but the creature's tentacle is his hand speared, like a nail through wood. In a moment of dark clarity, I realize that I can free him with a clean shot at the monster's tentacle, but it will likely mean blowing Dennis's hand off. "Dennis!" I yell over the creature's high-pitched static sound. "Can you get free?" "I have a shot." "Maybe." "No," Dennis gasps as the creature tosses him around by his hand like a puppet. "Don't shoot. I can get free." I can't tell if he's right, but the other monsters are starting to encircle him. I need to act fast. Oh shit. I think I'm gonna leave it here. This is a big decision. We're gonna end it right here, boys. Next time we'll decide if we shoot Dennis's hands or potentially let Dennis be monster food. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. We're almost done with Buried. We're almost done. We're on chapter 4. We're deep into chapter 4. This is getting intense, guys. It's getting real intense. But as always, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, or leave me a comment. I'd love to talk to you. Love to get to know you guys a little bit. Alright? I appreciate you. With that being said, King Basics,